nestled close together like lovers. That's my sister with my husband.
Forgive me, sis, I finally found the one. It's just too bad we met so late.
The two of them got more excited. Just then, our son came home. My husband, quick to steady her as she stumbled. And there was my son, witnessing this absolute nightmare. Oh boy, what is this, a soap opera?
She's the one for me. Divorce me and get out.
Can you believe it? Was this foreboding feeling all about this? My name's Joanna, I'm 47. It's been just me, my husband, and our son in the family. Our son, Jake, graduated from trade school this year and landed a job. He's started his career. And me, I've been working part-time for years, but I finally got a full-time position at the company. Thankfully, they offered me the position now that child rearing has settled down. I love my work, and the people there are great. The pay increase is definitely welcome. The only catch is my hours are a bit longer than before.
So, what? You're saying I should help out around the house?
My husband's face showed his displeasure.
I never said help out. I just asked if you could wash your own lunchbox.
I've always handled all the household chores by myself, from preparing meals and packing lunches to cleaning the bathroom and everything in between, all while working part-time from morning till evening. I had taken it for granted. But yesterday, I had an awakening. After coming home from work, our son, who commutes from home, washed his own lunchbox. It was a revelation. Of course. That's how it should be. I felt a sense of accomplishment in my parenting. At the same time, I was shocked by the reality that I had let my husband do nothing up until now. It was my fault for doing everything for him. But it wasn't really my fault, considering our son, who lived in the same environment, took it upon himself to wash his lunchbox. That meant I wasn't in the wrong. It was my inconsiderate husband who was at fault. However, you can't force someone to be considerate. So, I asked, could you at least wash the lunchbox on days I come home late? I asked very tentatively and politely. Yet, even so. To think I went to such lengths. And to be met with this dissatisfied expression. Far from being considerate, there wasn't a trace of kindness in him. He must think of me as some kind of housekeeper or something.
Oh great, you became a full-time employee without consulting me, and now you don't want to do the housework? You sure have become full of yourself.
It was an irritating way to say it.
I never said I didn't want to do housework. Plus, I did consult you. You were happy when I mentioned the pay would be better. Did I say that?
Making lunch every morning now felt foolish. Can't he imagine the stress of seeing the unwashed lunchbox from the day before in the sink? He let out an exaggerated sigh and said, just buy another lunchbox. Use them alternately. Hearing that, my shoulders slumped. He clearly had no intention of washing it, ever. Next day. My phone rang with a call from someone I hadn't heard from in a while.
Hey sis, long time no talk.
Naomi?
What's up?
It was my sister, Naomi. At 20, she had been working at a company our parents introduced her to when suddenly she declared, "This country isn't for me. I'm leaving." She slammed her resignation letter in her boss's face and fled overseas. I never knew what sparked her decision. Maybe something she saw on TV the day before. She's a handful, but she's always been this way. I vividly remember when our worn-out parents went to apologize to the company for the trouble she caused, and felt sorry for them. After her adventure abroad, Naomi shockingly married a French businessman. I've always been amazed by her initiative and curiosity since she was young, but I never imagined she would go for an international marriage. Moreover, when she announced her marriage over a single phone call without any prior consultation, the entire family was left agape. Since then, she only returned to Japan once for my wedding, and we've barely kept in touch. I confirmed she was still alive, checking the occasional social media post. After moving out of the state and being busy with my son's birth and upbringing, I had resigned myself to thinking, as long as she's alive and well, it's fine. For my sister, who I hadn't heard from in such a long time, to suddenly get in touch, I wondered what could have happened. Was it some major incident? Or just a whim? I braced myself, but the content of her call was beyond anything I could have imagined.
I got divorced.
Divorced?
I'm coming back to the US.
What? My sister, married to the French businessman, had been living a life of luxury in a mansion. With unlimited access to a pool and sauna, even having maids, a lifestyle many would envy.
I've finally finished all the paperwork, so I'm flying back tomorrow. Sis, can you pick me up at the airport in the evening?
What? You can't just spring this on me.
Please.
I have work.
You're gonna prioritize work over your sister coming back after so long?
It's just so sudden.
Please, sis.
Sis. That familiar call. It had been ages since she called me that. It was a sneaky move. As her sister, how could I refuse her plea?
All right, I'll figure something out.
Yay! And, can I stay at your place for a while?
I guess so.
Thank you. I'll be waiting. Having agreed, I remembered I had an important meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Rescheduling would be a hassle, but as I was fretting over it, my husband returned from work. I asked him, almost without hope, but to my surprise, he agreed readily. That's a relief. Thank you. But, can you really take the day off?
Tomorrow's slow for me, no problem at all.
Good to hear. I was unsure if he'd remember Naomi's face after all these years, only having met her at our wedding, but he said, "Don't worry, your sister's flashy, she stands out." Not the nicest way to put it, but I couldn't deny it. Suddenly, I wondered, is it really okay to leave my sister and husband alone together? The drive from the airport to our home takes about an hour. Just imagine it. My sister, the embodiment of a party animal, causes a ruckus in the car, while my pompous husband lectures her. They're definitely not a match made in heaven. I can only sense trouble brewing.
Hey, be nice to Naomi, okay? What? Oh, come on, I'll drive safely.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Just get along, all right? I got it.
I've made my point, but why do I still feel uneasy? That night, my son was washing his lunchbox. And, without a single complaint, he was washing his dad's too. I couldn't help but think, watching him. Whoever marries this kid is gonna be one lucky person. It's natural to want to spend your life with the person you marry. Even if he's a brazen husband who won't even wash a lunchbox, he's still the person I chose. Didn't we promise at our wedding to share both joy and sorrow? Wasn't it a pledge to be equals? Even though he was supposed to be my soulmate. Even though we married believing in our happiness. It was supposed to be the same for my sister, too. The scars from her divorce must be deep. But dwelling on these thoughts won't help. I need to shift my mindset. When Naomi comes back, I'll listen to her stories. And I'll support her so she can live comfortably.
What's up, Mom? Lost in thought?
Noticing my contemplative state, my curious son asked. It occurs to me he's never met his aunt. Maybe I should prepare him for her unique personality so he won't be shocked at their first meeting. I thought about briefing my husband too, but no matter how many times I call, he's lost in his games, holed up in his room. Truly, he lives by his own rules.
Hey, your aunt, my sister, is coming back from France tomorrow.
My son listened intently to my lengthy story, seeming quite interested. I was looking forward to the next day. The following evening, I rushed out of work at the regular time. I stopped by the supermarket to buy my sister's favorite chicken and hurried home. By the time I had finished preparing dinner, my husband's car, carrying my sister, had arrived. Welcome back! I went to the entrance to greet her. There she was with her large luggage, and my husband, with his arm around her shoulder. Huh? What? Why is he holding her like that? On closer inspection, my sister also had her hand around my husband's waist. That's too much physical contact.
It's been so long. I've missed you, big sis.
My sister seemed unfazed by it all.
Hey, why are you two so close?
When I asked, confused, my husband responded with what seemed like exasperation.
You're the one who told us to get along. I did, but this is weird, isn't it? There's nothing weird about it. What? Yeah. It's all natural. Are you kidding me?
Their growing closeness only intensified my discomfort.
We're not kidding. You wouldn't understand our connection. What? I've finally found my soulmate,
he said with a sparkle in his eyes.
What are you talking about? That's my sister Naomi you're with. Naomi, right, Naomi. What is it, George?
My sister called my husband's name with a coquettish tone.
I wish we had met sooner. We've wasted so much time not being together. Don't worry, George, we still have time to catch up.
There I was, watching this ridiculous farce with a distant look in my eyes. They had met once before at my wedding, even exchanged a few words. Okay, is this a prank? Or are you practicing for a musical? Can we just stop this? I couldn't hide my frustration, only to be hit with, "You're to blame for all of this." An unexpected accusation.
If it weren't for you, George and I could have met so much earlier. What? The moment I saw Naomi, the only one shining in the crowd at the airport today, it felt like being struck by lightning. Me too. It was love at first sight when our eyes met. I nearly collapsed.
Listen. I let out a sigh. Just stop it, both of you. It's nonsensical.
What?
Jake will be home soon, keep it down.
Are you trying to pull us apart?
This conversation is going nowhere. How did it even get to this point? Don't be jealous just because George chose me, Joanna. I didn't even feel like responding.
Knock it off. Let's end this, and start our happy future together. George, that's beautiful.
What was I even witnessing? Seriously, what happened with you two? We've been telling you. It's destiny.
Exactly.
Could it actually be these two? I suddenly realized. Was this the premonition of unease I had felt? Both of them are known for their tendencies to jump to conclusions and get overly excited. They might be completely misunderstanding the situation.
Hey, both of you, calm down and listen. No matter what you say, my feelings won't change. That's not it, I just want to clarify something.
Right then, my son came home.
I'm back.
My heart raced. I didn't want my son to see them cuddled up together. In a panic, I hastily pulled my sister away.
Ouch!
My husband, quick to steady her as she stumbled. And there was my son, witnessing this terrible scene. Oh, what is this, a scene from a daytime soap opera?
Hi Aunt, nice to meet you. What's going on here?
My son asked, confused, and my husband was the one to answer.
You saw that, Jake? Terrible, right? What is? Just because she doesn't like it, she assaults Naomi? I can't be with a woman who does that. What do you mean? She's the one for me. Divorce me and get out.
I was speechless. That's something he just didn't joke about.
Don't worry, big sis.
My sister said triumphantly, still clinging to my husband. Hearing this, my son burst into laughter.
Stop it, Dad.
Even I, who had been holding back, couldn't help but burst out laughing, caught up in the moment.
That's so funny.
Dad, what are you talking about? You can't divorce, right? My husband, not understanding why we were laughing, flared up, "What's so funny?" My sister seemed to take offense as well, glaring at us, "Your son is weird."
Let's set aside whether you two are serious or not, and just talk first.
I tried to reason, but she covered her ears and shook her head, "No. Don't interfere with us." As if she was like a tragic heroine.
Hey, George, let's go. I don't want to be here anymore.
My sister, clinging to my husband's arm, declared before the two of them left. Left motionless, my son approached me.
Mom, is this okay?
I knew I should probably stop them or chase after them. But deep down, I knew they would return soon enough. Yet, being told to divorce and leave just like that wasn't something I could easily forgive.
What should I do now?
Hours later. As the night deepened, my husband returned alone. I wondered what his first words would be, only to hear him exclaim with a face red with anger, "You tricked me."
This isn't what you told me.
My son and I were flabbergasted. Tricked? What are you talking about? It was a baseless accusation. I had told my son about my sister the previous night. My husband was too absorbed in his game to listen. My sister had been living a luxurious life in a French mansion. It was thanks to her wealthy husband. That much my husband knew about Sister Naomi. Her husband had a domineering personality, often lashing out at her. His controlling nature and self-centered attitude made every day a series of arguments. Despite the luxury, she couldn't stand living with him and chose divorce. A prenuptial agreement meant she left the marriage almost penniless. I found out about this during a phone call before she returned to the country.
At least I'll get him to pay for my flight back.
I was outraged she'd signed such a contract without a fair property division, but she dismissed it. It's over and done. Besides, the assets are in his parents' name, and he has a lot of debt. Irritated by her dismissive attitude, I pressed on.
Don't just give up on it. You need to take care of that properly. It's fine. Once I'm back in the US, I'll just find another wealthy guy.
What a thing to say at her age. But somehow, it made sense to me. It was just like her. Never in my wildest dreams did I think she meant my husband.
You thought Naomi was coming back with a lot of money?
My husband's face confirmed my suspicion.
Well, yeah, I assumed she got a hefty sum from her rich husband. But no, she's penniless and after my earnings.
My son and I looked at my indignant husband with cold eyes.
Your earnings, huh? What's with that look?
Oops, I must have drifted off into that distant look again.
You're not so different after all. You just wanted Naomi's money. You think I wouldn't want to switch from a nagging, stingy wife like you to Naomi, who said she fell for me at first sight? Of course, that's natural. But now you understand, right? Ugh.
He bit his lip.
That's right, the love at first sight was a lie from her. I was the one who got carried away.
So you left Naomi and came back?
No, I was the one left behind.
He said it as if spitting it out, then let his shoulders slump. Why?
Well, that's because...
I know, you don't have to say it. I sighed, that's why I wanted you to listen. Both of you were misunderstanding each other. Let's talk about my husband's situation. He worked at a well-known trading company, steadily climbing the ranks and receiving promotions. That's the husband George my sister knew. About 5 years ago, he fell ill. He was targeted by a tyrannical boss and endured harassment. He had just been promoted to section chief, but his smile faded, he lost his appetite, and he seemed to struggle every day going to work. Unable to bear seeing him like that, I suggested he quit. There was no need to work himself sick. We could live on a tighter budget. He resigned and has since been working a non-regular job in a factory. His salary halved, but I secured a full-time position, and our son found employment. Money was no longer an issue. Though his pride was wounded, and he had his low moments, he started to care less after I reassured him, "You've worked hard enough for us, it's okay." His smile returned, and he frequently thanked me. That was enough. As long as he's healthy, that's all our family needs. But recently, he seemed to have forgotten all that. I didn't mean to sound sanctimonious or to blame him. I thought spouses should support each other. That was what I believed until today.
Naomi got mad saying this wasn't what she signed up for and took off. I'm not in the wrong here, am I?
Dad's in the wrong. Before I could respond, my son did.
What's with that tone to me, your father?
I'm saying this knowing everything. It's sad for Mom. My husband was taken aback. Naturally, he had nothing to retort.
I was angry because you acted so superior. I used to earn more, yet you looked down on me for not washing a lunchbox. Dad, just stop.
My husband seemed so small at that moment. Or perhaps our son had grown larger.
Knowing both of you well, I can say you're a terrible match. And yet you talked about soulmates. I thought you were joking. Is that so? Sorry, but I saw right through it from the start.
A husband with a somewhat domineering attitude and a sister who is free-spirited and leans towards female supremacy. Without some calculation, there's no way they could stay together. They were just dazzled by each other's supposed wealth.
So, are we getting a divorce? No, that was a misunderstanding. Be clear. You were also at fault, I think. Dad. Yes?
My husband recoiled under our son's glare. Pathetic. It's time to make things clear.
If Naomi came back and said she still wanted to marry you even if you're just a contract worker at the factory, what would you do? Eh? Would you live with Naomi, penniless? Eh? She's your soulmate, right?
I looked straight at my husband as I spoke. His complexion grew worse, and he slowly shook his head. I'm sorry.
Hey! He's saying this, but what will you do?
As I called out, the person who awkwardly emerged from the back of the room was
Naomi? You were here? I was here.
My sister stormed in, making a scene upon discovering my husband's job change resulted in lower pay, demanding he take responsibility. She was hiding because my husband came home while she was still processing everything.
It's terrible, George. You were only after my money. No, you two, weren't you?
If my husband had remained a high earner, were you seriously planning to steal him away from our family? I asked my sister, who denied it vehemently.
I'll be honest. I was desperate.
What do you mean?
I have no job, no friends, and I was feeling insecure about my future. I thought being with my sister's husband would be safe.
I see. Divorced and back in her homeland, she must have been fraught with anxiety, longing for a stable life as soon as possible. I'm her sister, after all, I should understand her pain. No way.
Eh? I won't sympathize with you. You almost destroyed a family. Sorry, please forgive me. Go back to our parents' house right now. No, I can't do that.
My sister has a bad relationship with our parents. Plus, she's infamously known back home in a bad way. It's no surprise someone who ran away from a job introduced by a small-town community isn't well regarded.
You said I could stay for a while. That's impossible. What? I can't house a sister who tries to steal someone's husband, it's too dangerous. I don't need a non-regular worker like George anymore. And I wouldn't have bothered with you if you were penniless.
What now? As I wondered what to do with these two immature adults, my son spoke up before I could.
I want both of you to leave, now.
The two gasped at his cold demand. Coming from my usually calm son, it almost felt threatening.
Jake, why were you laughing earlier? Did you know this would happen?
My husband asked tentatively.
My dad was just dumbfounded by his own shallowness and couldn't help but laugh. Yikes!
My husband recoiled. It feels terrifying to see our son with a smile on his face, yet his eyes betray no hint of joy.
Dad, even though you can't live without Mom, what were you thinking? Eh? Thanks to Mom spoiling you, that's why you're still alive. Did you know that? Eh?
My son saw right through it. My husband's face, which had been pale, turned red. It was not from anger. But it was from embarrassment. After all these years together, it was easy to read each other.
Once you've realized that, thank Mom. And Mom, you spoil him too much.
I nodded with a wry smile. It's like wondering who's the parent here. What a reliable son. Once again, I'm assured of the success in raising him.
I'm sorry, forgive me. I won't forgive you so easily. Do you understand how I felt when you talked about divorce? I'll wash the lunchbox. What?
I was about to smack him when my son put his hand on my husband's shoulder.
You're not serious, right, Dad? Yikes!
I decided to leave it to my trustworthy son. It was already late. The long day has come to an end. We contacted our parents and managed to get my jet-lagged and luggage-laden sister on a bus back to our hometown. It was the best to have her go back while we can. Don't worry, with her cunning, she'll find her next destined one soon enough. About a month had passed. My sister, now back at our parents' home, called, "I hate the countryside. I want to live at your place," but I firmly refused. She eventually found a job in caregiving, thanks to our parents' introduction. That's a relief. It's reassuring. I won't run away this time, she was apparently made to promise in writing. However, given her naivety from years living in France and her challenging personality. Although I worried she'd soon be a burden, surprisingly, her cheerfulness and easygoing nature seemed to endear her to the elderly.
Being popular with the elderly is useless. Where are the wealthy, handsome men?
But you're 45. Soon you'll realize the slim chances in the countryside. Relying on someone else isn't feasible. Give up and learn the skills to live independently from now on. And maybe, start repaying our parents for all the worry you've caused. My husband still can't get any household chore right. Laundry ends up wrinkled, cooking fails even with recipes, and cleaning only spreads the mess further. It's almost breaking my spirit. But I'm not planning to coddle him.
Start over. Seriously. I'm sorry. If you're gonna forget, then take notes. Can't you even understand that? Yes.
Dad, you really have no sense.
Ugh.
Mocked by our adept son, my husband's pride was in tatters. Yet he seemed to endure without complaint, understanding his place. The ultimate goal is making lunch. Planning the colors and nutritional balance for a set box is advanced level housekeeping. He must also keep track of the fridge's stock. Understanding the effort behind it leaves no room for skipping dishwashing. We made a vow, after all. I won't let him forget. Joy and sorrow shared equally. Yes, work and chores shared equally too. That's fair and expected. Spouses should support each other through life. Right?